Welcome everybody to the Dead Matter podcast here with Pathfinder. Pathfinder, you can introduce yourself if you'd like.
Hi, my name is Pathfinder.
And today we're going to be talking about and going over a few things on an upcoming game called Dead Matter, which is an open world survival game that is made by Quantum Integrity, right? It's called?
That is correct.
Okay, and we're really looking forward to this, man. I know I've been waiting a while, Path has been waiting a while, and in March we'll get our hands on the first copies.
Hopefully, yes.
So today we're going to be talking about a few things. We'll start with his excited topics, and that's going to start out with factions. What are your thoughts on the factions that are coming to Dead Matter?
All right. Well, firstly, maybe a basic overview of what Dead Matter is for maybe somebody who doesn't know what exactly Dead Matter is. It's going to be an open world survival game with the zombies or some sort of infection, rather, and the setting is going to be 2 weeks after the fall of civilization. So there's no big government. It's based in Canada, and you'll just be a civilian running around trying to do your best to survive. So that's the basic, very simplistic overview. But within that world, and I kind of have to talk about how the server ages to talk about the factions properly. The cool thing about this game, at least the theory of the game, is that whenever you start or join a server, the server will be at a certain age, kind of like how Rust or DayZ would be with the server age, and then they have to wipe it to reset loot or whatever else. But in this game, as the server ages, things in the world change, like pipes that once had water in them no longer have water in them, power starts slowly going out, TV broadcasts and radio broadcasts stop, and the NPCs, which is what separates this game specifically from the other survival games in the genre, they change as well. There are no factions whenever the server starts. It's just you, the players, and a whole bunch of scared NPC survivors. And depending on what happens inside the game will dictate what faction emerges. And to a degree, you can actually control that with your fellow players. You can go from one area to another, take all the food, and just keep cycling out the food so the NPCs can't eat, and they'll become cannibals. Or you can or if the server is heavily focused on PvP and there's a lot of KOSing, kill on sighting going on, it's possible that a faction of first responders, or there's one I believe called Neighborhood Watch, that could emerge, which is anti-KOS and anti-kill on sight, and kind of anti-kill, to try to combat that kind of gameplay as well. So the world and the factions themselves, the NPCs, will change depending on the player actions. So it's really, really interesting. Yeah. Okay. Someone in chat says,
this may be a very dumb question, but will there be a player-on-player encounter similar to DayZ and such? Because that's one of the core aspects I love about DayZ. And to answer that, there will be encounters, but I know the devs have been saying they want to limit more KOS, like Path was mentioning earlier. And they want to give more of an opportunity for players to work together rather than kill on sight like DayZ and things like that.
Yeah, they don't... They ever since I found out about the game, they have labeled this game never as a PvP game. They've labeled it as a PvE game, player versus environment with PvP aspects. It's not PvP with PvE aspects like DayZ. It's the opposite. So if you have a PvP encounter, which is completely fine, and depending on who owns the servers, there will be official servers, but a lot of them will be client-based. A lot of the server admins and owners, they're probably going to want more PvP. It's just the nature of the community and what games they've been given and expected over the past few years. So I don't think that PvP is necessarily shunned or not going to be a thing. There's just going to be realistic penalties for pursuing that kind of action if you were to do it in real life. So you're going to have to worry about the noise you make, because the zombies or the infected, however you want to put it, are going to be extremely irritable and aware of their surroundings.
And also going back to the topic of factions with this scenario, if you're attacking a member of a, say, hostile faction that you aren't allied with, that could also spark some type of what is the word I'm looking for? Not controversy. Conflict, there you go. And that could cause a widespread of sort of quote-unquote faction wars between two factions, maybe even more. And that's something you really kind of want to stray away from, because the world is just... You're going to need help. It's a very large world.
Yeah, you'll cause controversy with the factions, and also you have to worry about not only the zombies which are roaming around, but also bandits who could potentially hear the shots as well.
Yeah.
And they said in their Discord that they don't want to necessarily create bandits to simply kill players. They want to try to program the AI to actually hold you up, right?
Yeah,
they want to like steal your crap and then kick you to the curb.
Yeah, they want to more or less give us the opportunity to work with certain AI instead of, running into a group of AI that just automatically want to kill you just because you're the last survivors. They want to try to give you the opportunity to build on the world as it's falling apart.
That's right.
Which is something I've never really seen in a Survivor game, and that's why I'm excited. Now, moving on to the building and customizations of buildings and the reclamation.
Yes.
That, in my opinion, is one of the coolest things.
Yeah, it's a spot of controversy for sure. I think that it is refreshing, and I love the idea, because as much as I like to see what players can create building-wise, it does kind of hurt the immersion depending on the vibe of the game. In a game like this, which is trying to be so focused on real-life survival, and the way you find out the story is through letters and notes of people, very personal, very dark and deep, it wouldn't necessarily make sense to have like a huge skyscraper or some weird looking building that that's just strange, because in real life you wouldn't be able to build that stuff.
Yeah, they want to try to keep it as realistic as possible and bring in aspects from a lot of these other games that were good, instead of bringing in ones that were detrimental to the game's feel and vibe. So they don't want to have buildings, like Pathfinder was saying, 10 stories tall that are built out of wood, sticks, and duct tape. They want to be able to give us the opportunity to take over these buildings and fortify them and pretty much just survive as long as you can. And that is something you do not see. I mean, you can reclaim a building in DayZ, but you can also go out and build a base in an open field. Not necessarily reclaiming in DayZ, but more of building walls onto windows and things like that. Another thing with that is the workshops. The workshops are going to be pretty cool. I know they were talking about vehicle, like if your vehicle is damaged, you need to set up a vehicle workshop in like a garage or a weapon workshop inside of, a room in a building. Things like that is one of the more detailed things about the game that I'm also really excited about. It just brings a lot more opportunity and playtime to the game. So you're not going to get bored after 2-3 hours of playing. You'll always have something to do, and you'll always have adventures to go on with your faction or even by yourself.
That is true. And did you mention that along with the building acquisition, you can set up traps and barricades, and there will be base raids and all that? You covered all that? Good.
Going back to that though, the traps, I'm not 100% sure what traps are going to be allowed in the game, but I wouldn't imagine them to be something crazy.
They're not crazy. The ones that they've leaked, they're not crazy. I mean, think of like things that you would use for hunting, like bear traps,
snares, or
snares. Maybe. I mean, I would like to see something along the lines of like a tripwire connected to a shotgun kind of thing, because that's not really unrealistic. People do that all the time.
Absolutely.
So I mean, that would be something that I would like to see, but I'm not sure if they'll do that. But I know for a fact stationary traps like bear traps and things like that, and alarm sounds like. I'm pretty sure you can place items. So if you put like empty cans or whatever on the ground, you could have some issues there if they make too much noise.
Another thing is map size.
Yes.
Well, it's 25 by 25 for the closed alpha, right? Or am I?
I'm not sure. I know for a fact it is around that size though. It's not the full map isn't being released for closed alpha.
Okay. So I know it's going to be pretty big. I'm pretty sure it's going to be larger than DayZ's map.
400 square kilometers.
Yeah. So I believe DayZ's like 50.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Just the mass of that is insane. I can't picture ever getting bored of that, especially wandering that map for God knows how long.
Yeah. For everyone who is watching this now and ends up watching it later, just do your best to really think about what that means. So think about how many hours you have to put into DayZ to learn the map. I have around 450 hours in DayZ, and I still get lost if I don't use the I Survive map. Mainly because things are in Russian, but besides that, some things end up looking similar, or Electro looks a lot like Cherno sometimes, depending on which part you're at.
Yeah, and I got confused on that yesterday.
Yeah.
And I have about 500 hours in the game. It's one of those things where the map is so big and these buildings and things like that, they're going to have similar layouts because just assets and things like that the devs have with UE4 isn't compared to these engines that people have actually made, like these AAA companies and things like that. It's going to have similar layouts within buildings, but building placement in cities should be different.
Yeah.
So getting confused is probably something that's going to happen, but it'll be easy to fix because everything should be in English.
Yeah, everything should be easy to fix. Well, my main point is that you come across, you play DayZ, and a lot of times you don't have the same experience twice.
Yeah.
And if that,
and a lot of the time it's just running.
Yeah, it's just going, man. And so it's a living world. Right, that's the point. And so if you're getting a living world with DayZ, where you get new experiences, new human interactions, zombies in different places, loot randomly scattered about, in DayZ, on a 50 square kilometer map, multiply that like 10 times.
Yeah, it's huge, man.
And you'll get different. You'll get dead matter. And different regions. You'll get snowy regions, metropolitan regions, suburban areas. Not initially in the closed alpha, but if you don't back the game, odds of you seeing closed alpha gameplays is slim right now anyways. But for early access, I mean...
early access is also going to have a different size map as well. I know they mentioned that in one of their dev blogs, but...
Yeah. While we're talking about the map, I know they did mention that the main city areas like Calgary, they're going to be working their way to that, just being as the pure density of that portion of the map, and how do they deal with skyscrapers and things like that? How high up should we be able to go? What about bases and skyscrapers, that kind of thing? That just takes more time to develop. So they're developing Calgary while they're finishing up the more rural parts of the map, which is what we'll have access to initially, along with maybe the ski resort or something.
Mm-hmm. And I know about the time that they put into the weather system is pretty impressive as well. I know they're going to have different seasons, moon phases. That's something I've never seen.
Yeah, I made a video about it whenever I first found out about Dead Matter,
Mm-hmm.
and there's moon phases. There's all 4 seasons, and if you guys go into their Discord, you don't need to be a financial backer to look at their media. They share it for everybody. They'll show the same exact photo, like location, but different seasons and different weather patterns. So you'll have like the 4 seasons, but then you'll also have weather patterns like rain and fog, or like a mist, snow, and the environment looks completely different, even though it's the same exact shot. That's how detailed they are about making it obvious that the seasons have changed. There's no question about it.
Yeah. And if I'm not wrong, these are going to be very subtle and slow changes as well. It's not going to be like one day.
It's not abrupt.
Yeah, you're not going to wake up and it's going to be summer, and then the next day it's going to be fall. You know, it's going to slowly change and develop as the world develops.
That's right. The trees will go slowly from like a green to a golden yellowish color. Then eventually they'll just fall off, and snow will come, things like that.
Yeah, and I know they talked about snow accumulation not being in the game.
Yeah, snow accumulation won't be in the game, at least not anything massive. I would be very surprised if there's not, like, at least in the ski resort area, like just like a little bit, you know, just a little bit.
I mean, it would be pretty difficult because they would have to go through and get different layers and things like that.
It's true.
Things like that, and
the main thing, I don't really care about the snow accumulation. The one thing I would love for snow accumulation would, if we can track people, I sound like a murderer. If we can track people using their blood on the ground, we should be able to track people using footprints. But you would have to be consistent then. So, like, say if you're in a marshy, swampy area if it just rained, they would leave footprints in the mud. And so if you get into the idea of footprints, my goodness, that just adds a whole bunch of stuff that they need to do.
Gunslinger, thank you for the follow, brother. I appreciate you. Sorry
Guns, you're actually here. What the heck?
Yes, sir.
Oh, my goodness.
I know that, moving on,
He's a programmer, not an animator, just to clarify. Yeah. Programmer, yeah. That's just for me.
Another thing is carry weights. I know they talked about being slowed, but not to the effect of immobilization when carrying.
It won't be like Skyrim, where you're always at the brink of being over encumbered. Then you pick up a butterfly or a flower, and then you're just dead to a halt because that was just too much to bear. The carry weight. I mean, with things like containers that you can put in your it's a soft carry weight, so it's always fluctuating depending on what you have in your inventory. It's not set by any means, so depending on what containers you have and what kind of bag you have, that will determine your carry weight as well. But I mean, obviously the items around the map, they have their own different weight and kind of capacity that will affect it, but you will never be carrying so much to where you're literally a snail and the only hope for you to move is by rolling down a hill somewhere.
Yep. And continue on to the path of player movements and, player customization, things like that. I know, I can't remember who it was, but they mentioned something called SATA, I believe it was. Strength, endurance, dexterity, and
agility.
Agility, yeah. What do you think about that system? Do you think it would help, or do you think it's going to be more detrimental than help?
So with SATA, I don't think it will be detrimental. I think it does a couple things. Number one, I think it helps because it helps set apart Dead Matter from other games.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason, and I'm not even going to mention why their motives or anything, but I think whenever Scum came out with their heavily in-depth medical system, right?
Yeah.
I think it kind of raised the bar for what a survival game could be, and maybe even should be. DayZ doesn't have that kind of in-depth thing. They do have infections and disease and hunger and thirst and all that.
Yeah, of course.
But they don't have what Scum has. And say what you will about Scum, but my goodness, that is one of the coolest aspects about it. So SATA, they kind of dip a toe into that same chapter a bit. to a degree, but it doesn't. It adds more to the character, but nothing that's crazy complex.
Yeah, so it's not something that you won't be able to keep track of if something does happen. So if you're running out of your strength or anything like that. I don't know if they mentioned if overtime strength and all of your, we'll call them points for now, will start to decrease if you don't do certain things, but I know starting out they shouldn't be high.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't have a lot of strength points or endurance points. And you would have to, that would motivate players to get up and move instead of, sitting in their base and camping it out for the duration that they're playing.
I would certainly also imagine that the SATA points of a character would slightly be dependent upon the prior occupation they choose, which is another.
Yes. And that's something we can move on to next as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, we'll not get too much into occupations yet, but if you were to be like a police officer or a former military guy or something that already had a very active job, you would expect your strength or endurance or whatever else they decide to be just a bit higher than analyst of some kind.
Yeah, and that also comes with some downsides. So military could have better strength and things like that, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't think anybody knows what the downside to that would be, but there will also be a counterpart for your positive points. So your strength,
so
endurance,
that
things like that.
Yeah. And so, like, there's a lot of, man, this SATA can kind of branch out into a few things. It can branch out because the SATA's it seems kind of dependent upon a few aspects, like former occupations and perhaps even the perk system as well.
Yeah, as well as player development through the
So
world.
I guess we kind of have to talk about other stuff to fully talk about SATA. But I mean, essentially, to wrap up SATA, it's like your character's base stats, which can be influenced throughout the duration of your character's life, I would think.
Yeah.
Is that a fair summary?
Yeah. I guess it would. I don't know how it would work with server life as well. If persistence is enabled, do you think that your SATA points will remain for the next server, or
describe persistence for those who don't know?
So persistence is basically, I'll give you an example. In DayZ, if you have loot on you and say you're at Prison Island, you can leave the server that you're on and switch to another server and still have all your loot. And, if you're sick or anything like that, you'll still have everything on the next server that you join. Now, with Dead Matter, I know server wipes and things like that are going to happen. So if you develop these high SATA points, I'm not 100% sure if they'll carry over to the next server that you join or if they'll carry over after a server reset.
Yeah, I'm not too sure on that either. I'm sure someone's asked and they've answered it in the Discord, but it's not been something they've directly talked about in any of their vlogs.
Someone in chat says, I'm guessing new server, new characters. I know, going back to persistence, I know some of the servers are going to be persistent enabled and then some aren't. Which could also open the door to people loot farming, which could be detrimental, but it also could help a lot.
Yeah, the safest bet is definitely just to have a new character if it's a new server. I mean, plus I don't think there's really any issue with doing it that way either. I mean, everybody's already acclimated to that way of playing a survival game regardless. Like, if you go onto a new server, you already kind of expect to make a new character, and that's part of the appeal of going to a new server anyways, is to have a new character, new experience. And not like saying you'd be forced to use your same character. Obviously, there'd still be the option, but the point being is that I don't think it's really that big of a deal, even if there's not that kind of character persistence.
And I know to combat that, it seems like they're adding the POIs, which I believe is a good thing. So you're not running and server hopping to find loot. When you're running, you'll find shacks and cabins and things like that to loot.
Yeah, they made it seem with the point of interest, because everyone in the Discord, when the game first came out, they were showing maps, and a lot of what they're showing is more rural and suburban areas, just because that's what they're trying to get out first. So people were wondering, like, oh my gosh, are we going to be running forever and not coming across anything like DayZ? and they were emphatically saying no, that they are doing everything they can to give the player enough areas to explore, whether it be small houses, trailer parks, shacks, like you mentioned.
Yep.
Maybe a small grocery store here or there, a radio station, something like that, to really make the journey to wherever you're going eventful.
Yep. And just it's good that they're adding those POIs, because we don't want to, not anything bad on DayZ, but we don't want to run a running simulator. You know,
that's right. This is not Death Stranding.
50 minutes to find one thing. And I know something was mentioned about in one of the dev blogs about sort of a dynamic loot, quote unquote, where, say, if you break your leg down the line, a few buildings over, you'll find the supplies you need to fix.
That's right. That's right. That's right. It's a very interesting system, how they're doing the loot, and it's probably already changed. I made a video about that as well, because I asked specifically about how the heck loot works, because it was such a
it's such an issue in a lot of these Survivor games.
It's very important. It's very important. So, I mean, like, the way they do it, you're right, there is the aspect where the game will spawn certain items for you to find. It won't just give it to you, but, I mean, you can rest assured that if you're bleeding, you can find bandages, or if you broke your leg or something like that, you'll be able to find whatever you need to fix that, like morphine.
And I know it was mentioned that they don't want to have the players get on and get off immediately because, oh, I broke my leg, I can't do anything now, I just keep dying. So they want to give these players opportunities to give them a longer lifespan in the game and have a comfortable gaming experience. Yeah,
which is, I think it's a smart move, because
absolutely.
I mean, what happens whenever you get that stinking, what was it, chloria or whatever in DayZ, and you're running around trying to find the tetracycline or however you pronounce it, and you end up just offing yourself. I mean, you offed yourself like 5 times.
Last night.
Yesterday, within like an hour and a half. I mean, the thing with the way they're doing the loot spawn is that it encourages exploration. It encourages successful exploration, because you get sick or you get injured, it pushes you out, and with the expectation that you will find something to help you. So you don't need to worry about, oh, I got this. I mean, game's over. Might as well just kill myself.
Yep.
You know, the game wants your character to survive. The game wants you to explore, and the game wants you to have all these different experiences. They're not creating this game with the same nonchalantness and expendable player character as the other ones. They because you have to craft your character. You know, like, really craft it. There's character customizations, there's the perks, occupations, all that. And so your character matters because you're spending time developing it. And how much would it suck for you to do all that, and people will be spending some mad time trying to get the perfect balance down and experimenting just to get some sort of broken limb or disease that is almost impossible to cure. And you're like, well, that was a bunch of wasted time. I guess I'll never know my character's full potential.
Yeah, and somebody in chat says, hardcore survival without being put in a 1,000-year-old ghost town. Now, yes and no. Yes, as in, you're going to spawn in, you'll have a fresh world when the game comes out. But as we mentioned before, world decay is a thing, and things will start going out, like power grids and water and pipes.
It could turn into that. It could turn into that, depending on. But it's dependent upon the player.
Yeah.
Because you can take over power grids.
Yeah, and it'll all be gradual as well. It's not everything's within a week of the game releasing. You're not going to be in this 1,000-year-old ghost town or. Yeah.
Also, with like gas stations and stuff, some will have gas forever and some won't. So I mean, it won't be like crazy hard. It won't be like that bad where there's no help anywhere. Like things will be okay.
Yeah, and now moving on to vehicles, I know. At the start of the game, when you first load in, when the game first comes out, you'll be able to find vehicles on the street that are drivable.
That's right.
And some will be filled with gas, some won't.
Mm-hmm.
And that also takes into effect vehicles outside are more prone to decay than ones, say, stuck in a garage or stuck in a warehouse somewhere.
Yes.
Some that are the ones that are exposed to the elements, you would have to put more upkeep into instead of, having a van in a garage.
Yeah, and that's a really cool aspect of it because not all vehicles are treated the same.
Yep.
And there's going to be various types of vehicles as well. You're not going to be coming across like the same 2 or 3 vehicles now like DayZ has, and you're just like, this is stupid.
Yeah, I know that there's many vehicles. So you have a sedan, SUVs, box trucks.
Mm-hmm. Emergency vehicles. There was an undercover police car they showed.
And
there's tons of stuff.
Yeah, I'm really excited about these like box trucks. Even it's just it opens a new door for movement of loot.
Trains.
So,
that's a vehicle. Yep. There's trains.
Yeah. And I know something was mentioned about being able to start setting up. Eventually, if it does happen, you can set up moving bases.
That's right. This could also go into the building and base claiming system here, the acquisition. You can build your base inside of a stinking box cart or whatever you call them on a train or something, and you can control the train. And you can move around. You can build your base in a box truck and move around. It could, or an RV. Those are in the game as well.
Yeah, and I know they have aspects to cater to people who are more low key with their basing setup. So
yeah, man. So if you want to be, I know there's people who love being like low key, like lone wolf individuals in these games, and they just want to like have that pure survival experience and just live off the land and limit human interaction. You can you can literally not have a stationary base and not be restricted to having your whole base inside of a large mountain backpack. You can have an RV or something like that and just drive around, set up for the night, finish whatever you're doing, then drive to a new area. It's perfect for exploration, man.
Yeah, and another thing is that brings into effect, the containers, so you can get coolers and things like that. Yeah. And another cool thing is, I know you've mentioned in one of your videos that ground deformation isn't a thing, so you can't bury something that takes up a slot from the loot in the world.
Ground deformation is not a thing, and I'm so freaking happy about that. DayZ ruined themselves to a certain extent by okay, so here's the thing. Ground deformation, number one, what I mean by that is burying things or deforming the ground in a certain way that to give player advantage.
Gunslinger, yes, DayZ does have that.
And it's absolutely, by itself, it's not bad because it doesn't necessarily do anything. But the way that DayZ does it is that if you can bury a dry bag or a crate, and what you can do with that is obviously store guns in there. Now, the thing that ruins the reason why ground deformation is a bad thing in terms of loot, which is what people always tie it to, I guess, is that whenever you bury loot inside one of these boxes or dry bags, that item does not respawn elsewhere, and the item slot in which you've taken that area, say from a house next to the hole that you just dug, nothing spawns there anymore.
Yep, because the loot that had spawned is now placed in the ground.
Yeah, so if you've ever been in DayZ and you're running around the military area at Tizzy and you're like, wow, where are all the guns? Well, you're not going to find any guns because somebody ran over there before, grabbed all the guns and buried them somewhere, or took them back to their base or something, and they're not respawning because they're technically still in the world.
Still being used, yeah.
Still being used.
And that essentially takes up the slot for that item to spawn, so...
Now, it's still possible that, theoretically, I would think it would still possible if for that to happen in dead matter, regardless of ground deformation, if things being in a crate still counts them as being used, and therefore it won't respawn, but they certainly don't make it sound like that with the way that loot responds actively to the player's needs.
Yeah. You guys should start a podcast together. Salty, that's what we're doing right now, brother.
Salty? I posted that link in my Discord, and you're coming here being a smart aleck, okay? I told you that this is a podcast, and you should be in... No, it's the weekend. You're not in school. Do your homework. I love you.
All right, moving on. I know the weapons, gunplay, and grenades. That is really
Yeah.
that sparks my interest there.
So
It looks so good.
Think of DayZ meets Tarkov.
Yep.
Whenever you're thinking of the gunplay, I mean, it just first off, round of applause to the artists and the animators and the audio designers. Like it's the entire aspect of the firearms is so
It looks great.
Oh, it looks satisfying.
Yeah, even before the closed alpha, you can tell that all these the gunplay and the gun mechanics and everything are just already well rounded.
Yep.
And you can tell that they're focusing on that because you don't want a game that, is really good at the survival aspect, but once you get into the gunplay, it's like, oh wow, this is really underwhelming.
Yeah.
But seeing the work and the time that they put into it, it looks amazing.
Yeah, like a lot of times games will have either or. So like there's tons of people who say that Tarkov's gunplay and fights are amazing, but the exploration is like meh. But then DayZ and Scum maybe, exploration is amazing, but the gunplay is meh. But here we have Dead Matter coming along, who takes in the care and the perfection of the gunfights and gunplay and gun animations of Tarkov and games like it with the exploration of DayZ and Scum and brings them together and marries them together into this really good mix that makes it very balanced way that makes it a one-stop shop for PvPers and PvEers.
Yep, and I don't know if this was mentioned before, and I don't know if this is correct, but do you believe that there will be PvE and PvP servers? So in PvE, it'll be sort of like, no PvPing and no base rating, things like that for these PvP enthusiasts that do want to play the game just to loot and get the immersion between.
Yes. Being as a lot of the servers will be client-based, they'll be able to set restrictions on things. Now, they cannot, I'm pretty sure, just outright ban the action of shooting a player.
That's when modding comes into play.
You could probably come up with a certain mod that literally makes a player bulletproof to other players.
Has that. They're one of their mods for the DZSA servers. They have it to where in a certain range you can't kill somebody. So, okay, I mean, Gunslinger says you can just turn off PvP. Okay, well, that answers the question.
Very, very well.
Now, we'll go back to more world decay now. World decay, that's another thing I'm super excited about. It's the aging of the world as the server's lifetime progresses.
Sure.
Now, the power grids, like you were saying before, are going to start out being active.
Sure.
I'm not 100% sure how that would work with player interaction. So, if a player takes over a power grid, this is going to be hard to word. What is the actions for one to take to maintain that? To maintain the power grid, and would people do that to provide power for the immediate area?
Honestly, I'm not sure what exactly it would mean for a player to take over, like a group of transformers or a power plant or something like that. They would make it. It's obviously not going to be the most realistic thing because the daily functioning of a stinking power plant is insane.
Yeah,
but
that. Another thing is that comes into play, is it going to allow us to reserve power for a specific area, or will it be more of, hey, we'll provide power for this immediate area and we'll also maintain it rather than letting it shut down?
So like power grids in real life, obviously I know that's not real life, but they do want to make it realistic. So I know for a fact that in power grids, they have the ability to turn off power to a certain area. They need to for maintenance or whatever, So I think that in this game, I don't know for sure, but you should be able to. I would think that you would be able to selectively choose what areas have power and not. Because that's the whole point of a player even going over there to take over the power grid. Because then you have pull and leverage and authority over that area. Be like, yo, you want power? Give me this, or work for me, or you can do that. You know, it encourages that player interaction, because there's no point in taking over the power grid if the second you use it, it turns on power for everybody.
Yeah, and that also,
I mean, not trying to sound mean or anything, but no one wants to be.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's probably not going to be easy to take it over. I mean, so they want to get some benefit out of it, other than just, you know, helping everybody or helping out bad people who are going around us. You don't want to give bad people power.
Yeah, and that typically seems like it would encourage some type of quote-unquote ranking system between factions, things like that. You know, if this faction owns the power grid and a friendly faction, you know, backstabs them, they could cut the power off for them. And
you were talking about player-made factions, right?
Yeah,
because clarification there, players can't join NPC factions, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And that's just something like, you know how The Walking Dead is, where Negan goes in and says, hey, I want all your stuff, and we'll protect you, blah, 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 this and that. It's sort of like that. So player-made factions will rank higher than others, depending on what buildings they've reclaimed and things like that. So if a faction reclaims a police station, that's where the armory is. And if a faction reclaims a gas station, that's where the gas is. You'll have that player interaction like, hey, we need gas for our vehicles, here's a few guns. Or we need guns, here's some power.
It's kind of like that episode in, you ever seen Fear the Walking Dead?
Yes.
Yeah, where where that one group of people or faction owns the dam.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly like that. And then they're in control of distributing whatever source they control.
Yep. And that's, I'm not sure if former occupations would go into that, like factor into that. Say if someone was an electrician, I don't know what the former occupations are yet. I don't think anybody does, but.
Yeah, well, this is getting pretty in-depth, because, I mean, like, I have no idea what goes into actually claiming that kind of a building. Like, will there be a puzzle? Will you have to wire something? Like, even in vehicles, they're talking about having hardwiring capabilities if you don't have time to try to find the key in the close proximity area, which I'm assuming that if you're an electrician would be easier for you because you know what the heck wires are than somebody else.
Can provide hints and things like that.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that there's a few different aspects that we just don't know about yet, but we could speculate all we want.
Yeah, definitely. And somebody in chat says grid or section based power. I'm guessing section meaning downtown or outskirts.
Yeah, I would prefer a grid based where everything's just on quadrants and you can literally click on the different little squares and say no power to that. That would give a bit more leverage. It would make it pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, and that would spark like hot zones per se. So people fighting over power grids and gas stations and things like that. But the world is so massive, we don't know how many power grids and things like that are going to be on the map. So
but even then, if someone turns off your power in a certain area, I mean, you could probably just go get your own little mini generator and refill it with diesel or whatever, and power your own little house and say screw you.
Yeah. Now, but again, to the world decay with the power grids, that it's not going to work forever. So you got to plan accordingly when it comes to picking where you're reclaiming. Because say if you reclaim a gas station, you're not going to be able to fill the gas pumps back up, you know?
Well, I mean, the gas pumps will never run out if they have gas. They said that recently. So? I'm pretty sure they said that. Gunschlinger, if you're still here, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was said recently in the Discord. And the only reason I know that is because I stalked the Ask Questions page ferociously. I have a problem.
I'm super excited about this, man. Like, it just seems so in-depth and interactive that it's something I've really never seen before.
Like, imagine this, all right? A few years down the road, all 400 square kilometers of the map are open and accessible, and somebody is being a stinking turd in the southern quadrant of the map, and they're owning everything, and you're like, okay, well, you're dumb. And you take a train 200 square kilometers away. You literally never have to see that person ever again. Yeah. Like, the map is that big, you can just leave.
Get away from people.
You can literally get away from people. There's no 30-minute run here, and they can easily get to you. I mean, like, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, and another thing is the story. I'm really excited about that. The story about how everything happened, finding these papers and newspapers and things like that.
Yeah. And the story is great, man.
Yeah, a thing I've been thinking is, if you find everything, are you going to get something out of it? If not, that's fine. But it would be cool to see, like, a cutscene for how everything happened. It'd be pretty dope.
I don't think they're going to do anything like that. It seems kind of RPG, which the game could be if you want it to be on a certain server. But in terms of actual, programming of the game, I don't think they'll do that. And I don't think it'll be even possible necessarily for you to find every little bit of story out there, because we're talking about finding every house with every little letter or scrap of paper or sticky note, finding every post office with unsent letters, listening to every radio station that has news, or every draining broadcast on the TV, or finding every police officer 911 transcript. Like, that's
every aspect,
newspaper clippings, like everything, man. Like, so I don't think it's possible to find every.
Eventually, after a very long time, someone will find out the majority of what happened. But it's
you'll be able to find out the story for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
But I love the way they're doing it, because they don't just they don't give you
that's
the whole
not the main
story.
Focus. Yeah, that's not the main focus, and you have to look for it.
It enriches the experience of exploration.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And I know they put in actual radio stations where in-game players can broadcast, which is.
That's right. And will it be taken advantage of? Probably. You're going to be walking around the wasteland, and you're going to hear I'm a Barbie girl. I'm a Barbie girl go over the radio, and then a whole bunch of zombies are going to attack you to the beat of I'm a Barbie girl, and you're going to be like, my next goal is to find that radio station and kill those people.
I don't know, just these player interactions, I feel like they're actually going to be genuine for once, instead of DayZ, where run into somebody, like happened yesterday. I meet somebody fresh spawn and try to kill him with a hatchet. Honestly.
Wow, what a terrible person. Who would ever do that?
Swift, I'm sorry.
Swift, he's watching right now. He's going to get you.
Yeah, he is. I know that the interactions like this are going to happen. And I know the devs have talked about how to limit that. And the way they're going about it is...
consequences.
Yeah.
There has to be consequences. It balances it out. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's nice to go into a game and not be who you are, and you want to be like this dude that's just, oh man, I'm
gonna kill everybody.
I'm so tough. I'm so tough, dude. I'm a gang member, whatever. MS-13 survived the stinking post-apocalypse. I'm a killer.
Yeah, and then you kill somebody, and there's 30 people coming after you.
Yeah, like there's got to be some consequences there somewhere, right? Like,
yeah.
And I like the idea. Like, if you want to shoot people carefree, then go to DayZ, because zombies really aren't that big of a threat.
Yeah, and I know they've stressed a lot that zombies are not going to be easy.
No, they're making the zombies sound pretty daunting, to be honest.
Yeah, and another thing is they can vault, so. Hiding on top of cars is not going to work.
If they can run through doors.
Yep.
If the door is closed, there's no door handle or something, like a door knob or something.
Yeah, they can't get through that. But one of those push doors, and say like a grocery store or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It would be really cool though if, like, with a grocery store where they have the sliding glass doors, if the zombies can run through the glass.
Oh man!
You know how terrifying that would be?
Yeah, that would be horrible.
that would.
Too, man.
Yeah.
Just zombies stacked up at the door and then breaking through.
It'll be like World War Z. They're just starting to funnel through.
I mean, and I know they mentioned that they have support now for the hordes to where performance doesn't take a big hit.
Yeah, now for the hordes, there's no like roaming hordes yet
It'll be
at
funny.
least. In the back of my mind, I'm like kind of expecting it, even though they're not saying anything. But I mean, I feel like if they're able to get 200 zombies on a screen, 200. There's not that many zombies in stinking DayZ map like on the entire East Coast. You can go to a stinking area and have 200 zombies in one area on your screen.
Someone in chat says that's my favorite part. I've wanted an open world zombie game where deadly forever.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the plan. I mean,
is deadly
and
forever.
Zombies will be forever respawning as well. You're not going to kill 1,000 zombies in an area and never have zombie problems again.
Yeah, you know the song. You know the song "Forever Young." Yeah, this will be for forever scared or forever in danger.
In-game voice system.
Yo, the in-game voice system. I never thought I would geek out about an in-game voice system, because it's just simply talking, but it's not in this game.
Yeah.
They want to encourage people to use that with to encourage interaction. And so, number one, zombies, and you may hate this or like it, but I don't really have a preference. Zombies don't react to in-game voice chat.
Nope.
Players can still hear you, obviously, but the zombies and whatever else they can't hear you, which I'm fine with, because they said they don't want to punish. They don't want to punish people.
The reason for that was people's mic levels could be higher and things like that, and that would just cause a bunch of different problems with zombie targeting and blah blah blah, this and that, and then complaints. Why I was whispering, why did this zombie come and attack me? And
it would be weird. Yeah,
and they also implemented silent communication as well. I know they like emotes and things like that. I know they mentioned.
There's a few basic emotes.
Yeah, of course. So the people that don't want to talk, if you're, say, fighting another faction or sneaking up on somebody, you can use those.
Mm-hmm. Back on the actual like voice system itself, your in-game voice will change depending on the environment. If you're in a warehouse or in a mine shaft or a cave, your voice will echo or sound more reverb than it will be outside, and it changes fluidly. And they showed that in one of their vlogs, maybe it was like vlog 6 or something. They fully detailed that and showed it in action, and it was absolutely brilliant. I can't remember, did they say that if you have a gas mask on, will your voice sound different or muffled?
I don't believe they said that, but I believe that it should.
It seems possible.
I know DayZ has that. If you have a motorcycle, you can barely hear the person, but I feel like they'll do it to where you'll still be able to hear them, but it's going to be muffled, as in...
It'll be, like talking to somebody with a motorcycle.
And I know a lot of those aspects come in with communication at distance as well. So... So the in-game chat, man, is... Like, whoever's watching this right now and listening to this, I mean, you can see that whatever we're talking about, there's so much detail and depth to it. It's not a simple we'll just stick this here and leave it as it is. I know people are upset about the delays and everything like that, but man, if you guys just take a second, dude, like literally, they're not putting anything in this game and leaving it as it is. They are seemingly handcrafting every aspect of this to match their game. Yeah, and in my opinion, take as much time as you want. Yeah, just make the game good. Don't.
I mean, I'd rather not be 80 years old whenever it finally releases. But yes, take your time. Take your time, man.
We don't want to see anything come out and be underwhelmed at what happened. Not that it's going to happen. I can see that the stuff that you guys are putting out and how transparent you guys are being. This, of course, is geared towards devs, is phenomenal. I mean, no games have really seen that. And I'm really hoping, I believe this game is going to blow up.
Oh, yeah.
And have a pretty significant player base. I'm really hoping that you guys maintain that transparency.
This game's going to be massive. I mean, even I made a video about their recent delay. And one of the things I said, I was like, the only thing that is keeping this team alive right now is their exceptional transparency.
Yeah.
Like you have
The
seen
dev logs,
games
everything.
like if they like some Kickstarter games just die off
Yep.
because they, no matter what they show, if their communication and transparency and their Discord or whatever is just dead and they go radio silent, no one is going to care about the game.
Yeah, I know there was one game that did that. I can't remember, but it was like pretty much a life simulator, and they were transparent at first. When they released closed alpha, the game was nothing like they showed because their transparency.
Oh, I know
was
what you're
just
talking about. I can't remember the name
out
of
the
it though.
window.
Yeah,
But
and so I mean, man, their transparency is something I've never seen
Identity.
before in a that's it. Identity. I hate you. But
yeah, it had so much potential, but transparency is key, man.
they're so good. I mean, if anyone simply just goes to their Discord, their moderators
Answer
and dev
questions,
team, they're so active. They're sharing media. They're answering questions, like you said. There are little sneak peeks if you're a backer. They're every day. They're out there grinding, making sure everyone knows that they are on top of it and being active in the community. And in between vlogs, their video logs, they're also coming out with blogs, and things like that. So
And they're streaming. I know I've seen Gunslingers stream.
Yeah, they stream their stinking development.
Insane. I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
And of course, if anybody watching is not already a backer, definitely back them on Indiegogo at indiegogo.gg, I think it's called, something like that.
Yeah, $35 is the minimum requirement to get closed alpha in the game and stuff. $35.
Yep. Make sure you back them if you do want to get a chance at taking a stab at closed alpha.
That's right.
And helping develop the game.
That is right.
It's the future. I'm loving it.
Okay, McDonald's.
Yes, sir.
I'm loving
it. Okay. Moving on. Events. Like events within the world that are everybody knows about the world. Do you think things like that will happen? So
there are world events, and they're all subject to change. Everything we're talking about is subject to change, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
But I say that specifically now because airdrops were going to be a thing, but now they're not. And I get it, because they said it would turn into just like a PvP cesspool, essentially.
Yeah, and I think to combat that, what they should do, I know H1Z1 did this when their survival game was out, is you would loot and you would find letters, and in the letter, a key and a note that told you where a stash was.
That'd be nice.
You would go to that stash and you would find what was in the loot. So if you found that letter, no one else could loot that until, of course, the letter respawns. And when you use the key on the stash, the key disappears from your inventory, of course. And through that, you can get high-tier weapons, high-tier loot, things like that. But it wouldn't be an easy task. You would have to go very far, and you would have to look hard.
I actually really like that idea. I feel like they could do that. They could be large scale like that with like a really big stash, but it could also be small scale. Like, say you go into a person's car and you check the glove compartment, and there's like a note in there with like a key, and it says like, "Yo, this opens up my safe at such and such address."
Yep.
Yo, that kind of thing, because then it gives you like mini quests, like little missions. To do.
And it also helps player development too.
Oh man, it would be absolutely fantastic if they were to implement something like that. But like, back onto world events, I agree they should do that. Helicopter crashes, those are going to be in, I'm pretty sure. So I mean, I'm not sure how that'll happen. Like, if it's just going to be like, they didn't make it sound like it was going to be like DayZ, where you just randomly stumble upon a freshly burning and smoking helicopter.
Yeah, and I'd imagine at the start of the game when it releases, it'll be somewhat like that, or the start of a server, it would be somewhat like that. So
yeah,
kind of tying into the world decay.
But yeah, I would like to see, like, if you have a radio, I would like to hear a Mayday, Mayday. I would like, if I'm in the area of the random world event, I would like to see it actually in the air, and I would like to see it crash. You know how cool it would be to be wandering around and all of a sudden hearing a Mayday, Mayday over your radio, looking in the sky, seeing a helicopter smoking and then crashing?
That'd be awesome.
That would be flipping immersive as heck, dude.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing. And then you go over there, Maybe there's a NPC alive. You got to put him out of his misery.
Or put him in a faction if he's okay.
Yeah, man. Who the heck knows? Maybe he's perfectly fine. And then you just loot what kind of cargo they were having, man. I mean,
yeah, that's
what other,
and it all could be random as well.
Yeah.
Food, weapons, ammunition, armor, everything.
medical.
Yep.
Yep.
Another thing, moving on to the next topic, damage to limbs and the Gore system. I know they mentioned that the Gore system is in works right now, so it probably won't be in the closed alpha. But the Gore system, the in-depth of limbs and internals, it looks very good.
Yeah. Also, the Gore system, there's the zero performance hit on the Gore system.
Yep.
So if you guys are worried about like your system specs, in terms of like turning down Gore system, you can turn it down for censorship purposes. Like if you just don't want to see it, you can do that. But yeah,
they have it in China where things like that are banned. So if you want to release to China, you're banned some certain stuff. So I know like skulls and things like that. That's what happened to H1Z1. They were at 150,000 players, and then they banned the skull.
Even Rainbow Six Siege had to change some stuff during some of their special events. Because they had like a skull or something during their like last year's Halloween event, and like I can't remember, it probably was China again.
It's just a lot of.
Got to keep the international market happy, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on to the next thing, the interactive environment. So being able to actually walk into doors to close them and things like that, instead of just getting stuck behind a door, say in DayZ.
Yeah, there's there's various types of doors. I mean, you can run through them. You can turn the door handle on one of them. You can open one from one side and it can't go back the other way. You can lock them. Some of them.
I saw in one of the dev blogs, like ambulance doors. You'll be able to actually move them with your character instead of swinging them open or closing them. Like
That's right.
Your player has collision towards these doors and other objects in the world.
Yeah. Now, I don't think it's as detailed as Call of Duty Modern Warfare, where you can slowly open it and peek inside. I don't think it's like that.
That would be cool
maybe eventually. Maybe eventually, but that's some like last finishing touches kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm. And I know they mentioned different ambulances will have different stuff in them too.
Oh yeah, ambulance. Not
really cool.
You'll have different experiences every time that you go to loot something.
Mm-hmm.
Loot will spawn where it makes sense. So you're not going to find like a stinking handgun inside of an ambulance or something like that. You'll find various kinds of medical devices,
medical equipment. Yep, everything. And I know with their weapon system, they mentioned it was going to be sort of like a Left 4 Dead 2 feel, or Left 4 Dead in general.
Yeah, they have a few inspirations for the game. Left 4 Dead 2 for the melee combat, and also the zombie sounds. I believe that they said at one point, which is good because the Left 4 Dead zombie sounds were phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
they're also inspired a lot by Project Zomboid.
And I haven't played that, but should I?
Yeah, you should. It doesn't look amazing, and Steam had recommended the game to me for like a year, and it just didn't look up to snuff, graphically.
Yeah, but that's where a lot of those games have fun in, though.
Yeah,
that's where you have fun in those games.
But I played the game, and dude, I saw what they were talking about. Man, the perk system, the exploration, the survival aspect, it is in depth. It is very impressive. It's an impressive little game. Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
And I'm not sure, but I believe they're taking some aspects from Miscreated. Phenomenal game too.
Yeah,
there's a lot of aspects, of course, that are pretty crappy, but it's a good game.
Yeah, so they're taking some a bit of a lot of games and definitely using those as inspirations.
Yeah, they're taking the worst and the best and isolating the worst, keeping the best, and throwing it all together in a good game.
Mm-hmm. Sexy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing is that I would like to see is, I know they showed off like the player movement. Of course, this is going to develop and become something better, but the player movement, I think, is a huge aspect that running speeds and movement, left and right, it can't be too sluggish and feel like you're running a tank.
Yeah.
You need to be agile if you have agility points, and just I know I saw when you turn left and right, it sort of snaps.
Yeah.
If that's smoother,
which, I mean, like, I have, like, it shouldn't be, I know you'll agree, I'm not saying that, you're saying it should be, like, so arcadey and, like, Overwatch, where you just snap around. There has to be weight to the character, right? There has to be inertia, and that's part of the, that also goes in the gameplay as well. I mean, like, like with guns, I mean, the thing that makes gunplay in Tarkov so amazing is that the gun has inertia. It has weight to it. It has movement. Like, you can feel the gun in your hands. It's not like just a paperweight. And the same thing has to go with your character. I mean, it should adjust depending on what your CETA points are, what your occupation is, or whatever else.
Yeah, and that comes with like weapon sway and things like that as well.
Exactly. So I mean, it should be realistic.
Yeah, and I don't know how they're gonna limit the occupations, as in everybody choosing police officer because it can handle weapons better.
Well, I think it'll be interesting to see. I think
every service can have a cap, maybe.
Well, if it's like Project Zomboid, you'll have your occupations, which will give you certain perks. But you don't need to choose an occupation. You can customize, you can choose your own individual perks. But there's not just positive perks, there's negative perks. So if you choose police officer, there's going to be negative perks built into that.
Yeah, of course.
And so it's the same thing if you try to create your own. So I mean, the occupation system, it will be cool, and and depending on the occupation you choose, you'll probably spawn with certain items. But
yeah, and I'm really hoping they balance out how powerful these perks are, so it doesn't, prompt the players to pick something other than another thing. You don't want to pick something that is going to be more powerful than another former occupation. Like, you don't want to have a police officer that 50 people in the server are using, and then there's 10 that are using, like you said, an analyst. We're not saying that's going to be in the game, but
yeah.
Just balance between everything.
The thing with the perks and the occupations, they're encouraging team play.
Yes.
And I talked about this a bit in the blog overview that I did, and they showed a bit of the perks. They showed the positive perks, and you have to choose negative perks if you choose positive perks.
Yep.
To balance it out. But a lot of the perks a lot of them were cooking ones, a lot of them were mechanic ones, a lot of them were gunplay ones for specific weapons, medical perks. And so they're encouraged if your character can't be good at everything. Yeah, and definitely. So that's the one thing. I don't care how powerful you think you are. If you're an amazing gunfighter and you put all your points in the gunfights and you get shot once and you don't have anything in medical, you're probably going to die. You know? So, I mean, they encourage team play. I mean, you're not going to have the most access to advanced recipes for cooking that gives your character the most fullness or benefits. So, I mean, you should be running around in a team with a gunfighter, a cook, maybe a medical examiner or a medical professional, and maybe like a carpenter for building a base, or a mechanic to drive better or fix vehicles faster. So I mean, because you can't have there's too many avenues of character building to where you can just rely on yourself for the best possible outcome. You do need other people, which will also encourage player interaction and bartering. Yeah,
and that brings into account, say, if someone wants to be super low-key, they really have to manage what they're learning and what they're not.
Yeah, you have to craft your character specifically to be a lone wolf, and try your best to be self-sufficient.
Yeah, definitely. And I know someone in chat mentions the reloading system. They have a love-hate relationship with the DayZ. I know that Dead Matter is going to be sort of the thing where you load your bullets into the mag, but I don't picture dead matter not allowing you to press R to reload. I would imagine
whenever if you have multiple magazines inside your inventory for a gun and you press R or whatever to reload, it'll load the next fullest capacity magazine into your weapon. You will have to reload your magazines with the rounds, which it should be. I absolutely love that feature in DayZ that you have to do that. It just adds that much more detail and immersion to it, you know. But I mean, obviously, you can go into a gun shop or police precinct and find already loaded mags. I mean, there will be places or a safe of some kind in someone's house. It's not like you're going to be finding every mag is empty or something like that. But I mean, you'll be able to find ammo boxes and refill your mags and your ammo and whatever else. But I'm pretty sure that I know there's a bug going on in DayZ right now where if you press R to reload, it'll like glitch the gun and you can't remove the magazine anymore.
Yeah.
And it kind of just trashes the whole gun.
That's happened to me in gunfights, which is pretty sad.
Yeah. I'm just going to say that the system itself is fine. It seems fluid enough, but expect bugs. You know, no game's going to be perfect.
Well. Yeah.
In theory, the reloading system, it looks sexy, looks fly, looks smooth and functional. But yeah, just expect the initial bugs to come.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of people get deterred from games. But you need to assure yourself that these are going to be fixed. If you bring them to the attention of the devs with the transparency that they're having now, I can see these things getting fixed. I mean, I wouldn't imagine, you know, going months with a reload bug in the game that is game ending. You know, it's something that these devs are making it seem like they're going to hop on top of immediately. Prioritizing larger bugs rather than, you know, textures and things like that not loading in properly.
Yeah, prioritization of bugs is definitely important.
Yeah. It's just something that a lot of these games fail to do, and I see Dead Matter and their devs are you know, putting their heart and soul into this game, and I can see why. I mean, the hype that they've built up, it's one of the best of any survival game I've ever seen.
That's right. You know, one thing we didn't talk about back on the gunplay area was the grenades.
I know, yeah, I do have that right here.
So what happens whenever you guys find throwables, it's not going to be a randomly generated throw.
Path.
Yeah. It'll be a set path, and I love the idea whenever I first heard it, but some of you may be like, "Why? That's so unrealistic. How could you ever do that?" Well, grenades and things like that are not going to be very common, and so whenever you have them, they want the player to be able to use them to their most effective potential. And so they want to take the guesswork out of using it. They want you to be able to actually have the advantage and not accidentally blow yourself up or throw it somewhere else because because it's your first time finding a grenade. You know, they want you to be able to know where it's going to go every time.
Yeah, they take a predetermined flight path. So that helps with, you know, banking the grenades off of something. Say if you're fighting somebody on the other side of a shelf at a supermarket.
That's right.
You'll be able to hit a pole and bounce it off and kill the guy across.
Yeah, man. And that goes into another aspect like ricochet. Gun, in terms of gunplay and that, I mean, you can bounce things off things. I mean, the physics in the game is there. In terms of bullets, there's travel time. It's not like you click and they're dead. You know, you have to.
I don't believe it's hit scan either.
Nope.
Because it's bullet drop and everything. So.
Yeah, there's bullet drop. There's no windage, which this ain't no military sim, so I'm fine with that.
Bullet penetration as well.
There is bullet pen. You can kill people, and it depends on the caliber. I'm pretty sure that different material, different calibers, those depend. But if it's like sheet metal, I mean, 9mm can go through sheet metal. You know, so I mean, if someone's hiding behind
a concrete wall with a 9mm.
Yeah, so I mean, you'll be able to kill people behind certain surfaces. There's ricochet, and whenever I say ricochet, I'm talking about like legit ricochet. You can be spraying somebody and bullets ricochet, and the ricocheted bullets have their own randomized flight path. You can get hit by your own bullet
Yeah, if you don't shoot it correctly.
and start bleeding. So I mean,
That would suck, man. In the middle of a fight, you shoot yourself.
You know how stressful that would be? You see this guy and everything's going great. You're being super sneaky. You blast him with your AK, but then you got like 3 ricochet holes in you.
That would suck, man.
That would suck.
I'm super excited for how these players learn the bullet drop.
Oh, dude, it's going to be fantastic. I'm very excited about it. Oh, one thing, you know what else we could talk about? We could talk about exploration in the terms of how people get around. There's no built-in like map. Like I know, you could probably mod it in some servers to where you press M.
They're going to be able. I know they mentioned that there's going to be like maps, but it's not going to show you where you are.
Yeah, you can find paper maps in the game at like truck stops or gas stations or something like that.
Yeah, and you'll have to use your knowledge of navigating.
What would be dope though about the finding paper maps is if you were able to draw on them.
Yep.
Like I would. Oh, dude, that would be so... Like, you find a point of interest, right? And a lot of the stuff, like, if you have a GPS watch or something, you'll be going around with, like, quadrants.
Yeah. And I'm excited if they allow us to show each other the maps, if we can draw on them.
Yeah, right? Like, that would be amazing, which I think it should be possible, because if you play DayZ and you go to a server called DayZ Underground, which is a roleplay server, they have their own modded map that they change with different faction territories. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, like, and if a player picks it up, I can see what's on the map. But that's a bit different than actively and changing the map at that moment for people to see. Yeah, but then you have games like the new horror survival game GTFO that just came out. If you press M on that map and you bring up the map, any character can circle or draw on the map or points of interest where you're at, and people can see it. So I know it's possible. I know it's possible.
Like an Arma type of thing.
Yeah.
You can draw on the map and
exactly. But once again, it's about prioritization. Is that necessary for the initial release? No.
Yeah,
but would I like to initially see it? Yes. You can also travel via stars. They put the constellations in there, and the North Star and all that as well.
And I can't imagine that they won't add compasses.
They'll totally be compasses, and they said that there'll be GPS watch or smart watches and things like that.
Now, I believe they mentioned you spawn with the GPS watches, right?
I'm pretty sure. Maybe not the GPS watch, but I think you do spawn with a smartwatch at least. I know there's tiers of watches.
Yeah, with that. Do you believe that you will have to find batteries for your watch that you had spawned with?
I don't.
Or would that be a thing where
that seems rather tedious?
Yeah,
I mean,
agree,
I mean, dude, watch batteries are hard enough to find in real life, dude. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, dude, like whenever your watch dies in real life, you're like, oh, I guess it's time to buy a new watch.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm excited, man.
Yeah,
it's just.
I mean, there's so many things to talk about, man. It's just going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game. Don't give the developers too much grief. I mean, I get some people in my YouTube comments spamming that this game is a scam. The only thing that this game has that you could even try to make the argument for a scam is the couple delays.
Yeah, and I know another thing is no microtransactions as well.
There's no microtransactions.
No pay-to-win features, not necessarily microtransactions. I mean, buying skins and things like that, I'm sure.
Yeah, no one cares if you buy cosmetics. No one cares. As long as it's not game-altering and giving people a benefit, you know.
Yep.
But I really don't think... I would say if I thought this game was a scam, and I don't think this game is a scam. They're way too transparent and putting themselves through way too much grief with the community. Like, if it was a scam, they would have taken this money, stopped streaming their developments, and...
They wouldn't put as much work into as they already did.
They would have deleted their Discord. They would have freaking banked it all and went.
Yeah, and the devs seem like a well-rounded group. They seem like they get along and love doing what they do.
I mean, Gunslinger's iffy, but, you know...
Guns will come at you for that.
He's going to come at me for that. No, they're all great. I do have a benefit. I have a bias towards Gunslinger. He's a good guy.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm excited to see how they implement these backer rewards, like the pictures of the pets and
Oh yeah, yeah. Talk
the
about that. Talk
immersion.
about that.
Um, I'm not sure how they would go about that. I'm guessing pre pre closed alpha, probably they would send you an email about it and everything like that. But that's gonna be cool, man. Finding pictures of your dog on a wall in some random building is gonna be sick. Or finding your name on a jersey. Or I know
Yeah,
some of the higher tier rewards. There's like supermarkets named after people and backer weapons and things like that. It's just gonna be
yeah. Depending on how much money you guys want to spend on the game, they benefit you with by putting you in the game to a certain extent, or your pet,
yeah,
or something like that. So
yeah. And I know that there's some of the backer rewards are already sold out,
yeah.
which shows the love from the community.
They should probably create higher tiers at that point, right?
Yeah, name the map after somebody.
Yeah, right. Different legit server names for named after people.
Yeah, that'd be cool, man.
you can become a zombie.
Can you?
Yeah, depending on how you die. If you,
I did not know that. That's awesome.
If you are infected, it's not like The Walking Dead where
You turn immediately.
you have, no matter how you die, you have the disease and you'll turn regardless.
Yeah.
If you die in regards to zombie, if you have the infection and you die, I'm pretty sure you'll come back unless you have a headshot.
Do you think that would come into play, like if you find the zombie that yourself had turned into in the previous life after respawning?
Yep,
Do you think you get your loot back?
that is confirmed.
Wow.
If you die from a zombie, there is the potential that you can go back. You will spawn in the general vicinity, and you can run back. And there is the potential that you will find your past character walking around,
That's
and you will
awesome.
have to kill yourself to get your gear back.
That's some Inception type stuff right there, man.
Yeah, so that's confirmed. You won't be able to play as a zombie, but your previous character, depending on how they die, will become a zombie.
I wonder how that story would go. I died, so I killed myself to get my stuff back.
That's freaking right. That's so metal.
I'm excited, dude.
Yeah, man.
Man, I don't know. This weather system too. I'm hoping that they implement like rain hitting roofs and things like that, like the sound. That's one of those things where it's super immersive. So if it's raining, you can hear the rain hitting like a tin roof.
Oh yeah.
Just the immersion of like
I'll fall
sitting in a
asleep.
building, yeah, knowing you're safe inside of your own base and working with your faction and doing internals instead of going out and looting.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I would like that. I would like that a lot.
Yeah, and I'd like to see quote unquote not too bad, but sort of like natural disasters. So really bad rainstorms and things like that. But of course, that will be down the line if it does happen. Saying
I did ask if there would be flooding because I know for a fact Calgary has flooding issues. Or I should say Alberta has flooding issues.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine, since they're not going to incorporate snow accumulation. I don't know about water accumulation.
Yeah.
I feel like that would just be too much for the
that would
server
be
to handle.
more difficult.
Yeah, flowing water, man.
A flood, yeah, and then you got to think about everything that's being washed away. The zombies, the people, the players, the loot, all of it. Yeah, that would be pretty. I do think it would be great to have certain areas of the map be unaccessible. Like, say, water rises in certain areas. Like, if it's already a river that's dried out or something, that would be cool to come by.
Like
if
a
it's a certain
dynamic.
exactly. It would be nice to see water levels change depending on the area.
And not necessarily rushing and flowing water. Just even, if you're in a canyon, you'll see a little more water accumulation in streams than in, say, the streets or a dam busting or something. You're not going to see huge tsunamis of pouring water coming out of everything.
Yeah,
it would be cool to see a little bit of accumulation with water.
Yeah, and like the weather will have different effects on you too. So like,
yeah, definitely.
Like if you're too cold or you're too hot, your character will act in certain ways, and I think they'll also affect. Like if it's really cold out, the zombies will move slower, and stuff like that. So I mean, the weather actually like legit matters.
What do you think about? Do you think they're going to implement like wet wood? If it's raining, it's harder to start a fire, or is it going to be like how DayZ is? It doesn't matter.
Man, that's a good question. I mean, that's pretty in depth, though. I'm not sure if they would actually go that
mean,
far in terms of like player punishment or something like that.
Yeah, and eventually, if it does get put in, it would be farther down the line. I mean, right now it should be worried about the general diagnosis of things.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but we didn't even talk about hunting.
Oh yeah,
there's hunting in the game. You can they like to use the aspect of whatever you kill, you can use all of it to a certain degree. Food, you can use the hide for clothing.
Yep.
Probably make some like crafted tools out of the bones, perhaps, but they haven't really mentioned anything. That's not too. I know that a lot of people don't really know how to do that, but it's not that hard to just like sharpen something, right? Like it could be some real basic stuff.
And it would be cool to see, like you can mount to like a bear head on the wall or something. That'd be
put some perks into the taxidermy field.
Yep. Cool, man.
You realized afterwards that was a joke. Yeah. Yo, if they have a taxidermy field perk though, I'm totally getting it. You're gonna come into my my library inside my house that I have acquiesced, and you're gonna see a whole bunch of mounted heads of people.
Of people? Do you
no,
think
I'm just kidding. No, God, no.
That would be cool.
Can you imagine that?
Oh my.
Nah, there's no way they'll do that. They'll allow effigies or something like that, but that would be amazing.
With the Gore system, do you think you'll be able to cut people's arms off, things like that?
There's no player dismemberment, and there's limited player gore, because it's hard to have people in this kind of a game walking around with actively bleeding bullet holes. But there is dismemberment and gore to the fullest extent on the zombies and animals.
That's gonna be awesome. I'm wondering how long the bodies from the zombies are gonna.
I'm not sure. They mentioned it at one point, but I can't remember.
That'd be cool to just stack up a bunch of zombies in an area.
I'll be very sad if they disappear after like 10 minutes.
Yeah, as well as like blood too.
Yeah, I think they said that like if you go and there's like blood on the walls, they're talking about how you can clean it off or something if you want to acquire the building.
Okay. Oh, and going into the more technical side of things, RTX, I'm really excited about that. They said there'll be initial support as in like basics.
Yeah, there's potential for initial support. They said their art team is very excited to dig into that.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the game has the potential to look stinking beautiful.
As long as you have an RTX series card, of course.
Yeah,
and that comes with shadows and reflections of like water. Mm-hmm. That would be amazing. Stepping in a puddle and seeing the ripples of like your character in it. Oh.
Yep. Seeing, like fishing or whatever, and seeing like the reflection of a zombie or a player behind you while you're looking into the water.
That'd be crazy.
Ooh, immersion.
Yeah. Even like just the shadows I'm excited about. Like I know it sounds really dumb.
You're so
I'm a
dumb.
fanatic for like in-game shadows and like how the game looks.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, it's a huge part of the game. I mean, it sucks whenever you're walking around a game that's so beautiful, but then you come to like an unfinished part or something that like DayZ suffers from this a lot. Beautiful game at times, but then like the rendering of things just doesn't come through. Yeah. Or you have like a Minecraft tree somewhere in the distance, or like you can see through a house or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and of course that's going to be issues early on in early access and closed alpha, but
yeah,
that's all expected.
Yeah, that's all expected.
Yeah.
In terms of actual houses, there will be some furniture crafting to a certain extent.
Is there? Wow.
I saw that. I think I saw that yesterday or the day before. It'll be very limited, but
yeah, and I think in like one of their first blogs they showed off like the light switches and things. That's gonna be really cool.
Oh yeah, you can turn lights off, turn lights on. You can lock the doors, close the doors. Mini blinds, window blinds. Yeah. You can close those, which you should do because zombies can see you through windows.
Yeah.
You are not invisible. If they see you, they will try to attack you.
Yeah, and another thing is, like if you're placing a lamp inside of a building, it needs to be near an outlet.
Yes,
which is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, it's gonna be really good, man.
I'm just excited mainly about the immersion, man.
The immersion.
It's something that you don't see in a lot of games. You see they're mainly focused on just how player interaction is.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
like gunfights and sharing loot and things like that. Of course, Dead Matter is going to focus on that as well, but they're putting a lot of time into, the immersion of the game.
Yeah, I think whenever you really like try your best to look at every aspect that they're trying to hit this game from, that's not going to be focused on a singular approach, but more well-rounded for trying to complete what other games have failed to do in the past.
Yep.
I think it's easy to understand why they've delayed a couple times in the past, because I mean, yeah, it's weird looking back. Like say 2017, they delayed due to their team being cut short. I think like something happened. There was like down to 3 of them, and it was crazy. But I mean, then obviously the delay in 2018, it seeing where the game is now and seeing where the game was back then, it made you wonder like how, like, where they realistically thought they would have been able to release it at that time, seeing how much it's improved and where it's at now, and it's still not being released. You're like, man, like their expectations are just stinking high of what they want.
That they delayed.
Oh, it's good. It's good. Because first impressions in the game industry is huge.
Yeah, they definitely matter the most.
And I mean, yeah, it sucks that there's an NDA on the closed alpha.
Yeah, but again, we don't know exactly what that entails. Of course, I'm pretty sure it's going to be, no streams, no recordings until after it's over. But that's all expected in closed alpha.
Yeah, NDA, non-disclosure agreement. We're not going to be able to disclose aspects of the game unless they specifically give us the okay to do so on whatever aspect they deem okay.
Yeah,
but yeah, there's no recordings or streams, unfortunately.
Yeah,
and it wouldn't even make sense for them to give it to certain streamers or content creators, because it's the same game, and the whole reason for the NDA is they don't want the general public to see an unfinished product yet.
Yeah, it's just a play test for the people that have backed the game.
Exactly.
And I know another thing we didn't really dive into too much was the workshops and like the storage and buildings and things. I know, say if you take over a warehouse, you'll have a lot more storage in your building.
Yeah.
Than say if you took over, a normal residential house.
Yeah, that's right. Your storage, unless they implement it to where you can build something or take, I'm pretty sure you could probably take boxes or crates or something and put it in your house as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and they showed that in one of their dev blogs as well.
Yeah, because there is item persistence in the game. But yeah, you're right. So if you find a house, you'll have like a cupboard or a dresser or something to store stuff in. But if you have a warehouse, you obviously have tons of Klondike boxes, shelves, tons of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And as well as like workshops. I know that they're implementing the gun workshops into buildings and vehicle workshops, like where you have access to these tools to repair vehicles or repair guns as if you wouldn't in, just running around. So if your tire pops or something like that, you'll be able to fix it on the run. But say if I don't know how deep they're going in with the vehicles, but if you break, your radiator or you're out of a battery, if you don't have that part, you would have to take it back and get it fixed in that specific workshop to have all those tools to maintain and fix vehicles whenever they're damaged or run out of whatever. The
maintenance for a vehicle, it won't be like so super tedious, but it will be present. That's one thing I wish. That's one thing I wish DayZ would have done, because they have those stinking vehicle maintenance shops at the gas stations, but they're useless.
Yeah.
Like
another thing I realized, they have motor oil in the game, and I do not believe that you need it.
I've never used it. No.
So
it's
a
strange.
lot of these things that
I threw it at a person one time, but that's about it.
Does that do damage in DayZ?
I don't really think it did. Yeah, it didn't. It didn't do it. It just made him mad.
Oh, okay.
And then he killed me.
Well, hopefully Dead Matter's not like that. I know, I can't remember if someone said something about throwing weapons in DayZ or in Dead Matter. I think Somebody had said something about, in the latest dev blog, I believe, throwing like hatchets and things at somebody will deal damage.
Will it?
I think I can't remember if it was Dead Matter or some other blog for a different Survivor game, but I know someone was working with grenades, and they said, "Hey, I wonder what it would be like to swap it out with a pan." And they did that. They swapped the grenade with a pan, and they threw it, and it, reacted the same way as throwing a pan.
I mean, I know PUBG implemented that.
That's what it is, PUBG. Okay, that's okay. Let me clarify.
Once you said pan, I was like, yeah, that's PUBG, because I remember I saw like Choco or whatever his name was kill somebody with like a pan and then a piece of rebar or something.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I would like to see that come into the game where you could throw weapons at people.
That's realistic.
Yeah,
people do that
knives
today, man.
Bricks. I mean,
yeah,
anything you can get your hands on.
Yep, people throw bricks. People throw glass bottles. People throw all sorts of stuff, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. That pretty much covers the majority of everything. I mean, I'm sure there's things we're missing, but
there's definitely things we're missing. But this podcast was just discussing what we thought stood out, that we thought you all would enjoy to know about, things that we thought set this game apart and above the other current games in the genre.
Yeah. I'm excited. Like, it's just something. I know I've said this thousands of times already in this podcast, but it's going to be a game changer.
If that was a pun, it was fantastic.
All right. Well, that pretty much wraps everything up. Do you have anything else about Dead Matter that you'd like to say, or anything like that before we get to the outro?
Nope. Thank you, developers, for coming up with this great game. Thank you for the reasonable price for backing it. Thank you for being so transparent and answering all the repetitive and sometimes stupid questions that the community has. And thank you for continuing to develop such a great game.
Yeah. Same here. That's pretty much it. Thank you everybody that tuned in. Gunslingers, 8 Immortals, Salty, Swift, all you guys. I appreciate you guys stopping into the stream. I know some of you guys are going to see it on Pathfinder's channel. And just show love and support to the video.
Please. All right.
All right. Thank you guys.
Bye, guys.